1945, April 1st, Okinawa, Ryukyu Islands, L hour. This is a first-person war story set in the Pacific Theater, 1945, at Okinawa, the last island before Japan, following a U.S. Navy Corpsman attached to Marine infantry. You'll live through the landing, control the caves, the silence that comes after the screaming stops, and it won't end the way you think. But the moment that decides everything is not a firefight. It's a family in a cave, and the choice I make when they look at me like I'm the monster. The ramp drops and the ocean swallows me to the chest. That's the first thing. Not gunfire, not the noise of 1,000 men hitting water, but the cold shock of the sea climbing up my torso like a living thing. I've got a medical bag slung across my shoulder, an M1 carbine I've never once fired in anger, and a helmet 3 sizes too large that tilts left every time I move. I'm 22 years old. I weigh 147 pounds, and the Pacific Ocean is trying to pull me backward into God knows what. I don't go backward. I push forward because the men in front of me are pushing forward, because the ramp is already rising behind us, because there's no direction in a landing except one. The surf is loud, louder than anything. A white wall of sound that hits the same frequency as artillery. You can't hear individual voices. You can't hear your own thoughts. You process by instinct. Keep moving, don't go under, stay upright, reach the beach. The carbine goes above my head. The seawater hits my chin. I step forward on sand I can't see. Then I see the helmet. It's floating on the surface 10 yards to my left, rotating slow in the current. Olive drab, chin strap dragging, and there's nothing inside it. Not a man, not hair, not a drop of blood. Just the helmet, turning, as if it's waiting for someone to come back and claim it. I don't stop moving. You can't stop moving. But I file it somewhere behind my eyes, the first image of this island, and I know already that it won't be the last thing I wish I hadn't seen. The beach materializes out of the smoke. My boots find solid ground. The man in front of me stumbles on the shingle, and I grab his pack to keep him from going down. He doesn't look back. We run. I run. The seawater in my boots makes a sound like a metronome, counting off each step, each second I'm still alive. To the left of me, 30 yards down the line, a man drops. Not from a bullet, just drops, knees failing, the weight of everything buckling him. I angle toward him before I'm conscious of doing it. That's training. That's the muscle memory they beat into you at Camp Pendleton. When a man goes down, you go to him. He's breathing. His hands are shaking so hard he can't hold his rifle. Shell shock before we've even crossed the beach. I pull him up, loop his arm over my shoulder, drag him toward the seawall, and talk to him the whole time in a voice that doesn't sound like mine. Low, even, counting. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We're almost there. 1, 2, 3. He doesn't say a word. He just breathes in, breathes out, and lets me move him. We reach the seawall. I prop him against it. He looks at me with eyes that are already someplace else, somewhere behind the island, behind the ocean, somewhere warm. I squeeze his shoulder once, hard, so he knows something real is touching him, and I move on. The first call comes 12 minutes after I hit the beach. Corpsman up. 2 words. The simplest sentence in the Marine Corps vocabulary. 2 words that mean stop what you're doing, stop breathing, stop calculating your own odds. Somebody needs you right now, right here, more than you need yourself. I go. The man is a private, maybe 19, and he's been hit through the thigh. The round went clean through the meat, missed the femoral, and he's lying on his back in the sand with his helmet pushed up his forehead, looking at the sky like he's trying to find a cloud he recognizes. I get a tourniquet on him in under a minute. I'm taping the bandage when he turns his head and looks at me directly. Am I dying? He asks. I know the wound. I've seen the wound. This wound is survivable. Painful, serious, but survivable if we can get him back to the aid station in the next hour. I know this with clinical certainty. No, I say. He exhales. What I don't tell him is that getting him back to the aid station is not a guaranteed event. What I don't tell him is that the beach is still partially unsecured, that I don't know where the aid station is yet because we've been on this island for 16 minutes, that the smokescreen the Navy put up is thinning and visibility is improving in all the wrong ways. I don't tell him any of that. I tell him, no, you're not dying, and I believe it when I say it, and I hate myself for how much I need to believe it, because the alternative is looking at a 19-year-old boy and having no useful thing to say to him at all. A lie that keeps a man calm is not always a lie. That's what I tell myself. It doesn't help as much as it used to. By the time we push inland from the beach, the quiet has started. Not silence, not yet, but a quality of sound I haven't heard before. The artillery has rolled further ahead. The landing craft are still grinding on the beach behind us. There are 10,000 men on this island, and I can hear my own boots on the red clay. That shouldn't be possible. That's not a natural sound. That's a held breath. The island of Okinawa is not large. It is not famous for anything except what it's about to become. But walking inland through the soft fields north of the beaches, the sweet grass matted flat by rain and boots in the passage of something enormous, I understand something that the maps in the briefing room couldn't communicate. This island knows we're here. The ridgelines ahead are dark. Not dark because the sun is wrong. The sun is fine, pale and early, the way April mornings in the Pacific get before the heat commits. Dark because of what's in them, positions, tunnels, men who have been waiting for us since November and who have had 6 months to turn every hill into a killing machine. We push past a farmhouse. The door hangs open. A ceramic bowl sits on the table inside, and there's still food in it. Something gray, grain of some kind, like whoever was sitting there simply stood up and walked into the wall. There are no bodies. There is no blood. There is just the bowl, and the open door, and the ceramic catching the morning light. One of the men in my section, a corporal named Delaney, pauses at the door, looks in, and crosses himself. "Where is everybody?" he says. Nobody answers him. The grass flattens ahead as the terrain begins to rise toward the first ridgeline. The ground under my boots feels wrong, too soft, too willing, like walking on the lid of something. We keep moving, but the island is already watching us. I can feel it. The way you feel eyes on the back of your neck in a dark room, the specific cold weight of being seen by something that has decided to wait. End hook. It wasn't until the third day that I understood the silence wasn't absence, it was patience. The rain comes on day 4 and it does not leave. It comes like a decision, like the island flipped a switch. And within an hour, the clay roads we've been using dissolve into orange soup. Foxholes fill faster than we can bail them. A man's field jacket soaks through in 20 minutes and never dries again. We stop measuring time by the clock and start measuring it by the state of our socks, our boots, the inside of our helmets where the water pools if you angle your head wrong. I stop being a corpsman and become something between a plumber and a priest, bailing foxholes, rebandaging wounds that the rain has soaked through, moving through the muck between fighting positions with my medical bag dragging in the mud because there's no way to carry it that keeps it dry. I check wounds I dressed yesterday and find them festering in a day because the wet gets under everything. Bandages, skin, morale. My hands are never dry. They are never warm. I have a pair of wool socks wrapped in oilcloth in the bottom of my bag, the one dry thing I own. And every morning I debate using them, and every morning I decide to save them for the man who needs them more than I do. I never use them. By the third week, the wool has molded itself into a small, dense ball, and I carry it like a talisman. The foxholes become the rhythm of life. You dig, it fills, you bail, you dig deeper, it fills again. The mud has a color unique to Okinawa. Red, orange, and greasy, like rust mixed with clay, and it coats everything. Weapons, ammunition, the inside of your mouth if you open it too wide. Men oil their bolts 4 times a day and still get jams. I clean wound tracks and pull out clay. The island is getting into us the way infection gets into a cut, slow, persistent, invisible until it isn't. A sergeant in Baker Company names his foxhole. He calls it the grave. Every man who hears him laugh. Nobody tells him to stop. The second week, they come at night. We know they're coming. The pattern has established itself. But knowing they're coming and being ready for them are 2 different states of existence. Ready implies certainty. What we have is dread, which is certainty's ugly cousin, and it does the same job with none of the confidence. They come through the wire without cutting it. That's the first lesson. I hear the wire sing, a low metallic note like a plucked guitar string, and then nothing, and then a sound that isn't quite footsteps, more like the sound of breathing displaced by movement. Something approaching. The man in the foxhole to my left, a rifleman named Cole, hears it too. I know because his silhouette changes. He doesn't move. He just becomes more alert, the way a dog's ears pivot without the dog turning its head. We both freeze. The Japanese infiltration tactic at Okinawa is not shock, it's surgery. They don't come screaming. They come quiet, 1 or 2 men through a gap in the wire, a blade in the dark, targeting officers and NCOs with a precision that suggests they know our positions better than we do, which means they've been watching, which means the darkness outside the wire is not empty. There's a sound from my right, a soft intake of breath, sharp, cut off, and then the particular noise of a man who cannot make a sound anymore. 40 feet away in the dark, Cole fires, I fire, everyone fires. The night lights up with muzzle flash, a strobe of white-orange that shows for one freezing frame the shapes between positions, 3 of them, low to the ground, moving fast. The shapes dissolve into the dark again. When the flares go up, we find 2 men. The third is never found. The man 40 feet away is Corporal Hernandez, and I reach him fast, and I do everything the training says to do, and it doesn't matter. Some things don't matter. Some things, you just hold the man's hand and make sure the last thing he feels is that someone is there. After that, the dark is never just night again. It's a thing with intentions. 5 days into the push south, we stop at the mouth of a hill that isn't on the map. It isn't on the map because the Japanese put it there, or rather because they put something inside it. The engineers have been marking tunnel entrances with chalk on the coral, white circles on red rock, and there are 3 white circles on this hill. The mouth of the main one is low, chest high, cut into the hillside with a deliberateness that should be obvious from 50 yards, but that you somehow don't see until you're right on top of it. We call for surrender. That's the protocol. We have a translator, a Nisei soldier named Nakamura, who speaks Japanese like it's air, and he stands 20 feet from the entrance and calls into it in a voice that manages to be both respectful and final. He calls for 2 minutes, no response. A grenade goes in. We all know what a grenade in an enclosed space sounds like. The hard, flat bark of it, then the secondary echoes that bounce around the stone. What comes out after the grenade is different. It isn't a soldier's sound. I know what a soldier sounds like when he's hit. I've heard it enough times in the last week to carry it around permanently. This is different. Higher, younger. Nobody says anything. We don't have the language for it yet. The engineers mark the entrance. We push past the hill. I walk for 3 minutes before my hands stop shaking, and even then I'm not sure they actually stop, or whether I just stop noticing it, which is a different thing entirely. The cave taught us that the worst part of this island wasn't what was pointing at us, it was what was hiding from us. The Japanese artillery finds us on day 9, and it doesn't let up for 5 days. They have guns buried in the reverse slopes of the ridgelines. Positions we can't see, can't reach, can't suppress without exposing ourselves to the guns we can see. And they have been patient with them. Patient the way a man with a trap is patient. They let us get within 200 yards of the ridge before they open up, and when they do, it comes from 3 directions at once. I'm treating a blister, a stupid blister on a private's left heel when the first rounds hit. The sound is wrong before the impact. A tearing air sound, like canvas ripping. That means the shell is already overhead when you hear it. You don't run from that sound. By the time it registers, the options are already narrowed to flat and stay flat. I go flat. The private goes flat. The ground jumps under us like something alive. When I lift my head, the section 40 yards to my left doesn't exist the way it did before. 2 men are down. A third is standing and shouldn't be. Still on his feet, still holding his rifle, looking at his left hand with a clinical expression, as if analyzing a wound that belongs to someone else. His left arm ends just above the wrist. I am moving before I decide to move. The medical bag comes off my shoulder. The tourniquet goes on. The man is in shock. Thank God for shock. It's the only mercy this island has to offer, and he lets me work on him with the passive compliance of a man who is observing his own body from a polite distance. I tie off the tourniquet. I pack the stump. I flag a stretcher team that isn't there yet, and apply pressure anyway. To my left, the shells keep coming. To my right, Delaney is crawling from position to position, checking men, counting out loud 1, 2, 3, like he needs the numbers to keep himself organized. Behind us, the aid station is a half-mile back, which in this terrain is 45 minutes minimum. I hold the man's arm, and I count his pulse, and I don't look at the ridge, but I hear it. I hear the rounds walking up the slope like footsteps. Methodical, terrible, adjusting. They aren't firing blind. Someone up there is watching us through glass and calling corrections, and doing this with a competence that has nothing to do with hatred and everything to do with training, which is almost worse because training implies they're doing this the right way. The order comes down on day 11. Take the position. The position is designated 11A on the grid, a coral ridgeline running roughly northwest to southeast with a reverse slope we cannot observe, and at least 4 firing ports that we know of, which means 8 we haven't found yet. The order comes from battalion, which is behind a hill, which has not seen the firing ports. I'm not a combat soldier. My job is to keep the combat soldiers functional long enough to do what they've been told to do. But I've been on this island 11 days now, and I have a working map in my head, not the paper kind, the real kind, built from everything I've seen and heard and treated, and when the sergeant reads out the order, I watch the faces of the men around me. Nobody argues. Nobody says it's wrong. That's not how it works. They check their weapons. Delaney does a magazine count. Cole checks his sight picture. A boy named Prentice, 18 years old, 3 weeks in country, tightens the laces on his left boot with the focused care of a man trying to find one thing he can control. I count my supplies. Tourniquets, 12. Sulfanilamide, half a pack. Morphine syrettes, 7. Bandages, enough. Plasma, none. The last of it went yesterday. 7 morphine syrettes for a frontal assault on a prepared position. We go anyway. The geometry of the ridge is exactly as wrong as it looks from below. The firing ports are angled to sweep the entire approach with overlapping arcs. The cover is a lie. The coral rock shatters on impact instead of absorbing it, turning the ground itself into fragmentation. There's a reason they put the ridge here. There's a reason they built it this way. The men who designed this position understood geometry better than our maps did. By the time we reach the first 20 yards of the slope, I have used 4 of the 7 morphine syrettes. Halfway up the ridge, I see him. A Japanese soldier, young, can't be older than I am, has crawled out from a firing port into the dead ground between 2 rock formations. He's been hit. I can see the wound from 40 feet, chest, right side, the way a man moves when a lung is compromised. He's crawling toward a grenade, not toward help, not toward cover, toward the grenade which has rolled 6 feet from his body, which is still armed. I see what he means to do with it. I have a medical bag. I have a carbine. I have the training that says every wounded man is a patient, and my job is to reach him, assess him, stabilize him, but that training was built on a different battlefield than this one where a wounded man is not also a weapon, where reaching out your hand doesn't require you to calculate whether the hand coming back holds a pin. I don't move. I hold very still behind a piece of coral that barely covers my helmet, and I watch him crawl, and I do not close the 40 feet between us. He reaches the grenade. His hand closes around it. Then the round comes from my right. A Marine rifleman I never see, and the crawling stops. The grenade stays on the ground, pin intact. I tell myself it's survival. I've been a corpsman for 2 years, and I believe in the fundamental contract of this job. You go to the wounded man, you always go, and I tell myself this was different. This was a specific situation, with specific factors. This was not hesitation, this was tactical assessment. I tell myself all of that, and I know exactly how much of it I believe. The man I didn't reach stayed with me longer than the ones I saved. The flamethrower operator is a man named Kowalski, and he does not speak much. He doesn't need to. His instrument speaks for him. The M2 flamethrower carries 5 seconds of sustained fire. 5 seconds, which sounds like almost nothing, and is in practice more than enough. Kowalski carries it with the particular posture of a man who has accepted what he's become. Not resigned, not proud, just factual about it, the way a surgeon is factual about a scalpel. The tunnel entrance is in the base of a coral formation, 6 feet high and 4 feet wide, and it goes back into the hillside at a slight downward angle, enough to suggest it's deep, enough to suggest it connects to other tunnels, enough to suggest that whatever is in there has room to move around and wait. We've called for surrender twice. Nakamura has spoken into it in both languages. The silence that comes back is not the silence of an empty space, it's the pressured silence of held breath. Kowalski steps up. He plants his feet. He's got a rhythm to it. 2-step approach, nozzle angle, trigger that suggests he's done this before and arrived at an economy of motion that minimizes what comes after. The flame goes in like liquid sunlight. That's the only way I can describe it. A living river of orange-white that bends around the curve of the entrance and disappears into the dark. And for a fraction of a second, you almost see it as beautiful because the human brain keeps trying to make sense of things, keeps reaching for reference points, and fire is ancient, and fire is light, and light is... The sound that comes back is not a soldier's sound. It bounces off the coral and comes out of the entrance, amplified and distorted by the stone, and it clings to us the way a smell clings, not to the ears but to something deeper. It lands in the chest. It sits there. Kowalski steps back. He doesn't look at the entrance. He looks at a fixed point, 10 feet to the left of it, at nothing, at a specific piece of coral he's chosen as the place to put his eyes when the sound comes back out. I watch him make this choice and understand that he has a system, and that the system is the only thing between him and whatever is at the bottom of what he's been doing on this island. I have sulfanilamide and morphine and an aid kit. He has liquid fire. Neither of us chose this exactly, but here we are doing the jobs that need doing, and the sound bounces off the coral one more time and then fades, and then it's just the smell and the silence and the smoke. They teach us about booby traps in training. They show us diagrams. They explain the mechanisms with a clinical clarity that makes them seem manageable. A pressure plate, a tripwire, a pin on a delay, solvable problems if you're patient and methodical. The island teaches us what training left out. The trap is not always a device. Sometimes the trap is a man. We're clearing a section of trench line southeast of the ridge, a communication trench, shallow, running between two fighting positions when Private Hooks finds the body. Japanese soldier, prone, face down in the trench floor, killed apparently by the artillery strike that cleared this section an hour ago. There's nothing obviously wrong. There's nothing that shouldn't be there. Hooks steps over the body and I'm 4 feet behind him. The body moves. Not much. A shift of the left shoulder, the beginning of a reach, and Hooks drops and rolls left, and the grenade that was underneath the body's chest goes up instead of out, blowing coral chips into the trench wall, and Hooks is on his back with his ears ringing and a cut above his eye that I'm already moving toward. The Japanese soldier is still alive. He looks at me. He's young. He's been lying there for some period of time, minutes maybe longer, with that grenade under his chest, which is a specific kind of commitment to something that I don't have a frame for. I'm pressing gauze to Hooks' forehead. I'm looking at this young man who tried to die for something, and I feel nothing clear, nothing I can name. Something that is not yet hatred, and not quite grief. Something that will take years to become one or the other. After that, we probe every body, every one, with a stick first, then a rifle butt, from a distance waiting 3 full seconds before we approach. We do it systematically, without discussion, because we don't need to discuss it. We just need to not be Hooks. And Hooks understands, from his position with gauze on his forehead, that the lesson cost him cheap. I find them on the afternoon of day 16, in a section of coral rubble that used to be a farmhouse. A woman and 2 children, a girl and a boy, young. I can't fix their ages. They're small and folded into the corner of what was once a wall and is now a right angle of broken stone. They're alive. They're watching me the way mice watch a hawk, with a specific stillness that is not calm, that is the opposite of calm, that is every muscle saying do not move. If you don't move, maybe it won't see you. I stop walking. I lower the carbine to my side. I hold up my left hand. Open palm. The universal gesture that means I'm not, that means I don't want to. That means look, nothing. The woman pulls the children tighter against her. She doesn't look at my face. She looks at my uniform. She looks at the equipment. She has been told something about what we are and what we do. And whatever she has been told has arranged itself into this, the pulling of children against a body, the specific geometry of someone making herself small enough to disappear. I reach into my medical bag. I pull out a field ration, chocolate, the only thing I have that might communicate something other than what she's afraid of. I hold it out. I don't move forward. I just hold it out. The girl looks at the chocolate. The woman sees the girl looking and pulls her tighter. I put the chocolate on the ground halfway between us. I back up 2 steps. I stand there. Nobody moves. After a moment, I turn and walk back to the section. And I don't look back. And I don't know if she takes the chocolate or leaves it or crushes it under her foot in the dark. I don't know anything about her except that she recoiled from me. Me with my Red Cross armband, with my open hand like I was a monster. Maybe. From where she was standing, I was. End hook. After that, every cave entrance felt different. Not because of the soldiers inside, but because of the people who weren't soldiers. We hear about the cliffs before we see them. The rumor travels the way all bad rumors travel on a battlefield, sideways, in pieces, one man to the next, arriving already half disbelieved and fully terrible. They're saying the families are jumping. Not soldiers, families, civilians, Okinawan people, herded to the southern headlands by the retreating Japanese forces, told that what's coming behind them is worse than the sea below. I file it with the other impossible things I've heard on this island. It stays filed until the afternoon of day 19, when we crest a limestone headland south of Itaman and I look down. The sea below the cliff is not empty. I'm not going to be specific about what I see. I've tried to be specific in my memory, and the specificity doesn't help. What I'll say is this: the cliffs at the southern end of Okinawa are high, and the sea below them is rocky, and what I see there is not something that anyone chose freely. It is the end point of a calculation made by people who were given false premises, who were told that surrender meant something it didn't, that we were something we weren't, that the water was better than the land. Cole stands next to me and doesn't speak for a long time. Then he says, very quietly, "Who told them that?" It isn't a question. He knows who told them that. We both know who told them that. I stand at the top of that cliff for 60 seconds, and then I turn away and keep moving south because that's the direction the war is in. And standing at a cliff looking down doesn't change anything that already happened, and the world keeps insisting on continuing regardless of whether you're ready for it. But I carry it. I carry it from that headland south, through the remaining ridgelines, through the last week of the campaign, through the transport ship home, through 30 years of the ordinary life that follows. The cliff is with me the way Okinawa is with me, not as memory but as weight. Nakamura speaks 6 languages. He's from California. His parents were interned in Arizona while he was on this island, speaking their language into caves, calling out to people who had been told he was a collaborator, a dog, a disgrace to the people he shared a name with. I watch him work and understand that his job is the most impossible on the island. On day 21, he makes a call into a cave complex near the village of Mabuni. An old man comes out, civilian, no weapon, hands shaking in the air above his head. Nakamura speaks to him for 3 minutes in Japanese, and the old man replies, and Nakamura listens, and his face goes through several things I can't fully read. Then Nakamura turns to the sergeant and says, in English, he says there are 12 people inside, women and children. He says they're afraid to come out. The sergeant says, "Tell them we won't hurt them." Nakamura says, "I did." He says they've been told we eat children. Nobody laughs. It's not funny. It's the mechanism of the whole disaster laid out in one exchange. Someone, somewhere, fed these people a story calibrated precisely to make them choose the cliff over the surrender, the cave over the open hand. And now we are on the far end of that story, and the old man is looking at us with terror despite the fact that we are trying to help him, and the 12 people in the cave aren't coming out, and Nakamura is going to have to find words for something that language wasn't built to carry. He speaks into the cave for 20 minutes. His voice stays level the entire time, soft, steady, the voice of a man trying to outweigh a lie with patience. 9 people come out. 3 do not. Nakamura doesn't say anything about the 3. He walks to the next cave entrance and calls out again. On day 23, a child reaches for me. We're moving through what remains of a village, rubble and roof beams, and the ghost shapes of walls, and the child is behind a broken door. A boy, maybe 6 or 7, and his hand comes out from behind the door toward my leg, like he's reaching for something specific, like something about me, maybe the Red Cross, maybe just the specific shape of a person who isn't running, has communicated something safe. I'm going to reach back. My hand is coming up. A Marine 2 feet to my left. A man I'll spend the rest of my life not being able to fully blame, shouts something and grabs the boy's wrist and pulls him back behind the door. Hard. Too hard for a child that size. The boy cries out. Everyone freezes. The Marine has his rifle up. Delaney has his rifle up. My carbine is off my shoulder and I don't remember doing that. We hold still for 2 seconds. 2 of the most compressed seconds I've experienced on this island, waiting for the pin, for the trigger, for the thing that this moment has trained us to expect. Nothing happens. The Marine lowers his rifle. He's breathing hard. He looks at the doorway, and then at me, and I can see that he knows what he just did, and I can see that he also knows why he did it, and I can see that neither of those things cancels the other out. The boy is behind the door, and we can hear him crying, and I want to go to him, and I don't go to him because the moment is too charged. The men around me are too tense, and going to him now means going in front of all those rifles, and I'm not sure enough that I'm wrong to do it. We move on. I replay that outstretched hand for the rest of the campaign. I replay it still. I joined this war to keep men alive, and the island was making me afraid of the people I was supposed to protect. They come at WW2 on day 27, and they come as a sound first, not a shout, a tone. A long, sustained note that rises as it approaches, that comes from so many throats at once that it stops being human voices and becomes weather. It comes from the south, where the last Japanese defensive lines are compressed into the peninsula's final ridgelines, and it comes fast. I'm at the battalion aid station. A hollow in the coral with a canvas roof and 4 stretchers and a surgical kit that's been used so many times the instruments are dull when the first shots go up. I hear the sound of the charge before I hear the Marine weapons responding, and the interval between those two events is short enough to be terrifying. They're close. They've been waiting for this moment in the compressed dark of their last positions, and they've decided that if this is the end, it won't be quiet. The aid station is not inside a perimeter. That's the design. You want the aid station accessible from the line, which means it's never fully safe, which means I'm now treating wounds in the open air with a battle happening 40 yards away. I can see the muzzle flashes. I can see the flares going up, green, then white, turning the battlefield into a stuttering daylight where everything is wrong-colored and nothing casts a proper shadow. I work fast. I work by sound and touch as much as by sight. A man arrives with a shoulder wound, then a man with a fragment in his thigh, then a boy with his hands pressed to his abdomen who won't move his hands no matter what I say, and I move the hands gently and make the assessment and work, because working is the only available response to this or to anything. The charge crests and breaks. The Marine line holds. The sound changes from the rising wave note to something more ragged, less organized, the sound of a thing that is already broken but hasn't admitted it yet. Delaney comes in at 031 Do. I know his face in any light. I know his face in no light. By now I know the specific way his shoulders carry themselves, the angle of his helmet, the particular rhythm of his walk. The man helping him in is a private I don't recognize, and Delaney is walking, which is something, and then I get close enough to see and the walking is all there is. He's been hit through the chest. The entry is under the left arm. The exit I find when I turn him gently, and there is no good angle for what the exit looks like. He's breathing shallow, fast. The kind of breathing that means the body is working extremely hard to do something it's not sure it can keep doing. I put my hands where they need to go. I talk to him while I work because that's the protocol, and also because it's Delaney and I've been talking to him for 27 days, and stopping now would feel like a kind of lie. I tell him what I'm doing. I tell him it's going to be fine. I use the same voice I used on the beach with the boy who asked if he was dying. Delaney looks at me with complete clarity. No shock, no panic, just a man looking at another man, and he says, "Don't waste the plasma." He knows. He's known for a minute, maybe 2. He's known longer than I've been working. I work anyway. That's not stupidity, it's the contract. You work until there's nothing to work with. You work because the alternative is deciding a man is already gone while he's still looking at you, and I'm not built to make that decision. I've never been built for that. He goes quiet at 0327. His last words are an instruction about supply allocation. That's Delaney, practical to the end. Dawn on day 27 is gray and wet and very still. The bodies from the night charge are mixed into the terrain in a way the maps never prepared us for, ours and theirs, overlapping in postures that suggest the last few seconds of a kind of violence that didn't sort itself by uniform. I move through it with the morning team, checking for life, calling for stretchers, making the determinations that need to be made in a specific clinical voice that I've developed over the last 4 weeks for exactly this purpose. A voice that sounds like a man doing a job, which is the only voice that works in this context. The island feels different in the early light of this particular morning. Not calmer, that's the wrong word. Emptier, like it has been fed and is satisfied for the moment. The ridgelines ahead are still dark, still waiting, still holding everything they were holding before the night charge, because a charge like that, a final committed charge like that, isn't an offensive maneuver. It's a statement. It says you see who we are. You see what we're willing to do. You understand now what this costs. We understand. We have understood for 27 days. But understanding doesn't make the morning easier. It just makes it specific. Somewhere behind the lines, a Marine is playing a harmonica. I can't see him. I don't know the song. It drifts through the smoking landscape and lands in the hollow where Delaney's stretcher was, and it has no idea that it's breaking my heart. We held the line, but the line had moved through me, not just across the map. The last weeks of Okinawa are a different kind of war. The organized resistance is broken. The main defensive lines, the Shuri line, the Yaijudake position, all the named ridges that ate entire battalions are gone, overrun, burned out. What's left is not an army, it's men in tunnels, men who will not surrender, who were not told how, who were given a war and no way out of it except the one way that isn't out at all. We hunt them the way you'd clear a building room by room, except the building is a coral hillside and the rooms have no light and connect to other rooms you can't see on any diagram. The call goes in first, always the call. Always Nakamura, standing at a safe angle from the entrance and speaking Japanese into the dark, offering terms, offering water, offering the plain fact that the island is over and there's no mission left to die for. Sometimes hands appear. When they do, we take them carefully. One man at a time, check for weapons, check for injury, move them back. Some of the prisoners are barely functional. Some of them are young enough that I file their ages next to the ones on our side, and the comparison is something I try not to do, but do anyway. Sometimes grenades appear. The tunnel system under the southern peninsula is extensive enough that we will spend 2 more weeks clearing it. 2 weeks of crawling into stone with a flashlight and an interpreter, and a very specific kind of courage that doesn't have a name because it's not dramatic enough for naming. It's just the willingness to go into the dark one more time, and then one more time after that. I go in twice. I'm not combat infantry. I have no business in a tunnel, but there are wounded in there. My job has business in there, and so I go. Both times I come out, I count that as something. Every act of compassion on this island has a cost you don't see until you pay it. A prisoner comes out of a tunnel on day 38. Hands up, and he's wounded. Hip wound, infection obvious from 20 feet, the smell of it unmistakable. He needs surgery. He won't get if he's processed through the prisoner chain in his current state. I treat him first. That's the protocol. That's the law of war. It's also, on this island, the thing that makes the Marine corporal standing behind me uncomfortable, in a way that puts a specific pressure in the air. I work fast. I clean the wound. I self-anelamide it. I get a bandage on that will last long enough for processing. The prisoner watches me with an expression I can't read, not gratitude, not contempt, something more complex than either, something that might be confusion, something that might be the first crack in whatever story he was told about what we are. The corporal doesn't say anything while I work. When I finish, he takes the prisoner's arm, not rough, just firm, and moves him toward the collection point, and as they walk away, the prisoner looks back at me once, and I don't know what he's looking for. 3 days later, at a different tunnel complex, I stop a Marine from shooting a wounded man in the prone position who turns out to be civilian. I'm 4 seconds too slow at the next one. A different tunnel, a different prone shape, another Marine, another fraction of a second, and the person on the ground isn't a threat. Every compassionate instinct on this island is tested. Every single one. Some of them pass. Some of them I get to in time. Some of them I don't. It happens on day 41. And I notice it the way you notice a sound stopping rather than a sound starting. I'm at an aid station behind the tunnel line, when a round hits the slope 40 meters above us. Not close enough to be serious. Close enough that everyone around me flinches, that automatic physical startle that the nervous system can't suppress, the duck and tense that happens faster than thought. I don't flinch. I notice that I don't flinch. I notice it the way you notice that the clock has stopped. A removed observation about something that should be happening and isn't. My hands don't move. My shoulders don't move. I keep writing on the casualty card I'm filling out, and the round hits and I keep writing. That should be a good thing. Steady under fire is a good thing. Steady under fire is what keeps people alive. But it's not just steadiness. I know the difference. Steadiness is a choice you make, a discipline, an act of will that overrides the body's natural response. What I'm doing is not an act of will. The response simply isn't there. The body has stopped bothering with the instinct that says that was close, because close has been the condition of every day for 41 days, and the body eventually decides to stop wasting the energy. I put down the casualty card. I look at my hands. They're still. They've been still under fire for about 2 weeks now without my noticing. They're very clean, which is its own kind of wrong. No corpsman's hands are clean at this stage of a campaign unless they've been washed very recently and very carefully, and I don't remember washing them. That's the moment I get scared. Not of the shells of myself. I'd spent 41 days trying to hold men together, and somewhere in the process I'd lost track of what was holding me. The guns slow on June 22nd. Not silence. I'll never fully believe in silence again. Not the way I believed in it before April. but a slowing, a thinning, the specific acoustic texture of a battle that has run out of battle. The artillery stops first, then the small arms, then the tunnels go quiet, one by one, over the course of a morning that begins with mist and ends with a sky so blue it looks like a mistake. I'm standing on a piece of coral above the Makabe district when I realize I've been listening for something for a long time and I don't hear it anymore. The guns. I've been hearing them since the day I stepped off the ramp, and now the frequency has dropped below what I can separate from other sounds, and the gap is enormous in a way I wasn't prepared for. The island looks chewed. That's the only word. The landscape is what you'd get if a thing of teeth worked it over for 82 days without stopping. The trees stripped, the ridgelines broken open, the fields reduced to the red clay beneath the green, the villages that used to be here present only in the geometry of where walls were. The coral road from the landing beach to this headland is unrecognizable as the thing we walked up on April 1st. That was another island. That island is gone. I sit down on the coral and listen to the blue sky and try to find a thought that has a clean edge to it. Everything I reach for has been through the campaign and come back changed. Every concept of safety, of decency, of knowing what I'm doing here has been run through what this island does to things and come back altered in some way I can't fully diagram yet. The silence fills in around me. It fills from the outside in, the way water fills a space. And it brings with it all the sounds it's covering, the sounds that live underneath silence now. That silence doesn't actually eliminate, but only mutes. I can hear the guns even when they're not firing. I know the protocols for this. There are official tallies, casualty reports, KIA lists, the ledgers that the Corps keeps because the Corps keeps everything, because the machine of war requires accounting as much as it requires ammunition. I have my own tally. It doesn't match the official one. My tally is faces. It's the specific geography of faces in the moment just before or just after the private on the beach who asked if he was dying. The boy with his hands pressed to his abdomen, Delaney at 0327. The ones I got to in time. The ones I didn't. The ones where the distinction between in time and not in time was a matter of 30 seconds or 30 feet, or one decision I made slightly wrong. The faces don't have names anymore. That's what happens at a certain volume. The names become inaccessible before the faces do, like the brain is prioritizing the image over the data. I know that at some point in the last 82 days I stopped processing new names in the way I did in the first week. I know the men I came with. After that I know the wounds. There's a man I treated on day 37 who asked me my name and I told him and he said it back to make sure he had it right, and I don't know if he made it home and I don't know his name, and he looked at me like I was the only thing between him and the cave. There are too many of them. That's the arithmetic of this island. You arrive with a certain capacity for the weight of individual lives, and the island fills it and keeps adding, and at some point you're carrying more than the capacity, and the overflow doesn't disappear, it just stops having a place to go. I carry the overflow. I don't know where else to put it. There's a water point set up at the collection area. A canvas bladder on a frame with a rubber hose, the kind of field expedient that takes 8 minutes to assemble and provides lukewarm water under low pressure. I fill my helmet. I put my hands in. The water turns pink immediately. I wasn't aware my hands needed cleaning. I washed them this morning. I'm certain of it, but the water turns pink and I wash, and it turns pink again, and I wash again, and after the third time I accept that what the water is showing me is not what the soap is going to fix. I stand there with wet hands above a helmet full of pink water, and I think about the woman in the rubble with her children. I think about the cliff at the southern headland. I think about Delaney's last practical sentence about supply allocation. I think about the boy who reached his hand out from behind the door, and the hand that yanked him back, and the crying that came after. Okinawa was the last island before Japan. That's what we told ourselves when we came. Last island, final push, this is the one that ends it, and then it's done. That's the shape we gave it, an ending. The island didn't understand itself as an ending. The island understood itself as the island-specific, patient, indifferent to what we needed it to be. It was here before us, and it outlasted what we did to it, and it will be here when the coral grows back over the shell craters, and the rain fills the foxholes, and the clay absorbs the rust. We leave Okinawa on a transport ship in the gray light of a July morning, and as the island shrinks behind us, I look at it until I can't see it anymore. I'm looking for something. I don't know what. Some resolution in the shape of it. Some visual that closes the parenthesis that opened when the ramp dropped on April 1st and the Pacific came in around my legs. It doesn't close. The island disappears into the horizon, and I'm still looking at the place it was. The water is the same water. The sky is the same sky. Everything is the same except what's in me, which is the island now, the specific weight of every cave entrance, every flare, every face I carry in the overflow, present in my chest the way shrapnel is present in a body that's healed around it. Not visible, not operable, just there. You want to know what it cost to take an island. Not in the numbers, not in the strategy, not in the sweep of history that comes later and gives it a meaning it didn't have while it was happening. You want to know what it costs in the specific currency of a man who was 22 years old with a medical bag and 11 morphine syrettes, and a belief in the fundamental contract of his job. It costs everything that's easy. It keeps everything that's hard. The ocean moves under the ship. I wash my hands one more time with the water from my canteen, and they come clean, and I put them in my pockets, and I don't look at them again for a long time. We won Okinawa. I want to believe that means something commensurate with what it cost. I'm still deciding. The blood came off my hands. The island didn't